I call this meeting of the Board of Supervisors of June 18th to order. A roll call, please.
Supervisor Bronson, Supervisor Carroll, Supervisor Elias, Supervisor Miller. Here. Chairman Valadez.
Present.
Let the record show all members are present.
Today's invocation will be offered by Pastor Rick Lewis from Connections, a Vineyard Church, and will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Supervisor Elias. Please stand.
Let's pray. Father in heaven, may you provide wisdom to make difficult decisions, patience to work through challenging issues, strength to stand for what is right in the face of adversity, creativity in times of lack, discernment to know what is beneficial and what is not. I pray that you guide and protect each member. May you bless each one in your bounty in their personal and public lives. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
As friends, as family, and as residents of Pima County, let's join together and say the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. And now we have Officer Bowden with Pause for Pause, and today we have Beamer, who is a sable and white Sonoran purebred.
Good morning. This is Beamer. Beamer doesn't seem to much care for law enforcement. Beamer is a mixed breed dog. Let me see if I can get him to turn his attention. Oh goodness, Beamer. Beamer, sit. Good boy. So he does have some manners, just not real keen on uniforms, it turns out. Beamer's been with us since early March of this year. He was brought in as a stray. He was wearing a red collar when he came in. Perhaps he put it on himself or somebody else had. But nobody came looking for him. After a couple of weeks, Beamer got sick. He got a little doggy cold, kennel cough as we call it. And he ended up in our, we have a little infirmary for the sick dogs. And he was there for a couple weeks, recovered quite well, has been healthy ever since. He's been back on the adoption line. However, he's not been real successful in finding a home. Beamer is kind of a big dog, not exactly for everybody, but definitely a handsome dog all the same. He's a 60-pound dog, and he's about 3 years old. He is, as you can see, you know, he does have his manners, but he does have a few quirks, as they all do. He's definitely trainable, otherwise he wouldn't sit for me. He'll do it again, I bet. Beamer, sit. Good boy. So yes, he does listen when told. In any case, Beamer's been there for quite some time, so his adoption fee is discounted. He's only $10 with the $15 licensing fee, so that gets $25 out the door. That gets him neutered, microchipped, and his first round of vaccinations. Other dogs right now, we are running a special. We're trying to get 12,000 dogs adopted, so we're doing $12 adoptions for the rest of the month. Cats are free this month, or adult cats, I should say. So if you're looking for a cat or two or three, we can get them to you, and they also will be altered, spayed or neutered as indicated by their gender, and microchipped as well. So we welcome anybody down there for all kinds of pets, tons and tons of, oh goodness, Beamer. He wants another treat. Beamer. Good boy. I didn't even have to ask that time. Yeah, he is a decent dog. We wouldn't have had him in our facility, wouldn't have gone to the trouble to help him through his cold if he didn't have decent enough behavior. He is, like I said, though, quite a big dog, so it's not for everybody. But if you know somebody that is looking for a big, burly-looking dog like Beamer, we've got one for cheap. We've got plenty others, though, so if this isn't the guy for you, plenty more. If you're unable to adopt but want to help out our animals, please sign up to volunteer. We can always use fantastic people for volunteering, and we have a fantastic group already that would probably be great companions for you if you are fantastic people, which you all look to be. If you're unable to give the time or the home to an animal, you can always donate money at pima.gov/animalcare. Any amount is welcome. No amount is too small or too large. And if you know anybody looking for a dog like Beamer, he is anxiously waiting. He was the dog that has been there the longest that I could find today. So everybody else has had a shorter stay than him. He's the longest and anxious to get out the door as quick as possible. So I'd like to make that happen this week. Every dog I've brought here has been adopted. Our dog from last week, Bam has found a home. So we're hoping that the same can be true for Beamer. So please, if you know anyone interested in a dog like Beamer, he's anxious to get into a home and start to bond with somebody of his very own. So thank you for your time. Please feel free to come down. We're open from 10 to 7 on weekdays. 12 to 7 on weekdays, 10 to 5 on weekends. And we're located at 4000 North Silver Bell, which is north of Grant and south of Camino del Cerro. So please come on by, even just to look, just to spend some time with the animals. They enjoy the company. So thank you very much.
Supervisor Leos.
Well, you know, any dog that's a little big, a little dark, and has a few quirks in his personality seems to match me a little bit. So given that that's the case, and we're at the end of the fiscal year, District 5 would be willing to carry the load for the adoption costs for this dog for anybody who's interested, or if you have any friends out there who might like a dog like Richard, then I got to tell you, I heard Beamer, but I heard Beaner, really, and I thought, wait a minute, that's not right. But then it's Beamer, so I know that it's right now. I feel better about it. But please adopt this dog, and please help our friends at Animal Care. They are great people, and we have great pets there that can add to people's lives. So if you know somebody who wants this dog, you tell them that they can come talk to our office. We'll make sure they get taken care of, okay? And thank you, Officer Bowden, for coming down here and always being so nice.
Thank you, little Richard. All right, we do have one item on the executive session calendar. Chair will entertain a motion to go into executive session. Motion and a second to go into executive session. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. We will return at the sound of the gavel, which shouldn't be too long. It's only one item. Call this meeting back to, back to order. We had one item on the executive session calendar. Council.
So, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, executive session item 2 on the addendum agenda concerns Dos Picos LLC versus Pima County. This is Maricopa County Superior Court case number CV 2010-098366. In this case, Dos Picos alleges it is entitled to compensation or declaratory relief based on the county's designation of level.
Turn his mic up, please. Turn his mic up so we can hear, please.
Are you able? Yeah.
Thank
All right.
you.
Okay, very good. I'm screaming the thing if I have to. Again, executive session item 2 on the addendum concerns Dos Picos LLC versus Pima County, Maricopa County Superior Court case number CV 2010-098366. In this case, Dos Picos alleges it is entitled to compensation or declaratory relief based on the county's designation of Level 1 peaks and ridges in Ordinance number 2005-63. The court has mandated a settlement conference set for June 27, 2013. The county attorney's office requests authority to proceed as discussed in executive session.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Lewis.
move the county attorney's recommendation.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the county attorney's recommendation. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. And I believe that's all we had for executive session. We are now, I'm going to go ahead and open the final budget hearings, which is items 6 through 11. And those are to be considered open at this point. I have several speakers. I'm going to go ahead and call them. I'm going to ask each of you to please keep your comments to about 3 minutes. We do have a timer on here, and for all audience members, please respect the speaker. So don't please, no cheering, no booing, no hissing, or any other types of gestures. Let me start with Jennifer Rawson. Please come up, ma'am. Identify yourself for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Jennifer Ross, and I live at 9581 East Ozark Street in Tucson, Arizona. I am here today without the least belief that what I have to say will make any difference whatsoever to what you do. However, some of us suffer from the Don Quixote syndrome and must tilt at windmills, and if no one fights, then for sure all is lost. This county has a tax rate almost 3 times that of Maricopa County. This county has a debt of over 2.5 times that of any other county in this state. And you all are telling me that we have to raise the taxes. No, we do not have to raise the taxes on people who are on fixed incomes and people who happen to own property in this county. We deserve to get the kind of government that looks out for the taxpayers of this county. Not every social or group that you feel deserves our charity and our taxes. Taxes are not for charity. Charity comes from a choice each individual makes as to who deserves their dollars. When you take tax money and give it to special interest groups and to charities, it's not charity, it's extortion. I ask you, please, to consider what I have said, even though I know you won't, and to not raise the property taxes on the people who are already overtaxed because you people cannot manage to spend less than you are pulling in from taxes. And that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Any questions or comments? All right. Thank you, Mr. Russell. Next, I'm going to call on Robert G. Black. Please come up, sir. Identify yourself for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Good morning. My name is Robert Black, and I reside at 1920 West Desert Highlands Drive in Oro Valley. I'm here I want to share a couple things with you in a book. I don't know whether you've read it. It's the 5,000-Year Miracle. It's something James Madison said, if angels were to govern men, neither external nor external controls on government would be necessary, but lacking these, in framing of a government which is to be administered by men over men, the great difficulty lies in this. You must first enable the government to control the governed, and in the next place, oblige it to control itself, which seems to be very difficult nowadays. And then Benjamin Franklin said, think what you do when you run in debt. You give to another the power over your liberty. The problems that we have in this community are a result of the shortcomings that we see of the employees in the city of Tucson, as well as raises each of you own. And each of you have a responsibility that's been based upon the decisions that have been made in the past. Never in my 30-year career as an engineer was I given the opportunity to request a pay raise for myself. Never was I given the opportunity to say, you know, I want you to, my management to approve a 1% pay raise for me. On occasion in my career, revenue was jeopardized by the company requiring a 5% reduction in the pay, with executives cutting all bonuses and a decrease in pay by 10%. I've never had the opportunity that an elected official has of requesting pay raises for any reason. I worked, and my work was measured. With the budget that I have reviewed, there needs to be significant changes to the balance of revenue versus the expenses. Comparing that to my own personal life, it's like me having a $50,000 a year expense and only being able to generate $10,000 to $15,000. That would be a killer for me. I couldn't survive. And yet you're asking for tax increases, as mentioned earlier. Regarding the per capita investments that I've mentioned in the past, the result of Pima County not having that is a result of Pima County not doing what they can to instill jobs and revenue from those jobs. And you place a burden on the public by increasing taxes. It's a sham. It's a shame. I don't see how anyone with a clear conscience can approve this budget knowing the burden is being placed upon city employees and the citizens of this community. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Elias.
I'd just like to point out that none of the members of the Board of Supervisors received raises based on the Pima County budget. So I just wanted to make sure that that was a clarification. None of us would be voting to give ourselves a raise. In fact, the only way members of the Pima County Board of Supervisors can get a raise in their pay is through an action of the Arizona State Legislature. And the other thing I'd remind you is that we're talking about county issues and county employees today, not City of Tucson employees. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to call on Adriana Morkerken. Please come up, identify yourself for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Adriana Morkerken. I've written what I'm going to say, and I'd like to say it without being interrupted.
We need your name and address for the record.
No, actually, you don't. You guys have already, I believe,
No,
passed that where you don't have to.
give
Address.
address.
I have sealed records, so I actually don't have to do that either.
Mr. Chairman, didn't we
Supervisor Thorne.
vote on new procedures and we no longer have to give the address? Wasn't that voted on not long ago?
I believe
Yes.
we,
Yes.
Council?
I can't recall whether it is or is not in the new rules, but she is entitled, she does have a privacy interest in her own
Tell you what, why
address.
don't you just identify yourself by town? that you live in.
Adriana Morkerken, Tucson, Arizona. I live on the east side. Okay, so in the past, this board has touted 16 years of experience and and representing what is best for all of us. And in retrospect, we clearly cannot see through the mud past the pointing fingers and beyond the unaccountability of our local representatives, you all. A clear example of this hypocrisy is reflected in the proposed debt management presentation that is being made available to all Pima County employees. The flyer reads brown bag lunch, which somehow seeks to identify the middle class as regularly eating out, But now, under the guidance of the Board of Supervisors, they are encouraged to conserve and bring a meal from home. The county is generously providing drinks, however. Unfortunately, there will not be anything strong enough to wash down this swill. What this is a slap in the face to all of the county employees who have not received a raise. And I understand that you might be giving one and that you might be doing it in maybe part of it at one time of the year and maybe the rest of it at the other part. Well, I don't see how anybody can, with the economy the way it's going. So you have shown a responsibility in managing our budget because that is our tax dollars, but yet you want to tell the city employees how to manage their budgets. Pima County is showing sympathy for the taxpayer. Now? Since when? Maybe it was during the period of time when the county was in the real estate business buying up ranches left and right, and maybe it was in consideration of the ever-growing county budget where hard and fast planning was counterbalanced by sweetheart deals and nepotism. The Board of Supervisors encourage and prods employees to attend a session arranged to educate and prepare for the economic challenges that lie ahead in the future. This board, with the exception of one member, has failed miserably to support and affirm and direct a complete review of the current budget, leaving the citizenry of Pima County in the dark once again to blindly stumble and follow the dimly lit walkway of economic development and prosperity. And we have seen this in recent things that are going on here in the county. So my question is, why is it that Pima County presently exceeds the budgetary summary of other county budgets combined in the state of Arizona? Why do you allow this form of government to continue? Is it pride, blinders, or arrogance? Do you equate 16 years of experience as wisdom? Because I do not see that as 16 years of experience that's being shown on how you are governing. And that's all I'd like to say. Thank you.
Any questions? All right, here none. Thank you. Next, I'd like to call on Mr. Brad Johns. Please come up, identify yourself for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Good morning, and thank you for the time. I'd first like to thank Chuck Huckleberry and Supervisor Miller for the education session last month where we crawled through the budget in far more detail than I really wanted to. But I'd also like to state that I think I understand where the property tax increase is the rate is going to increase about 7% next year. But as I looked at my property tax bills over the last couple of years, they've actually gone down a little bit. So if for me and probably for a lot of people, it's kind of a wash with the rates going up and the property values going down. I think the rub as we look forward is really going to be what happens when the real estate market rebounds. And I understand the process of how the assessment, property tax assessment process works, and it's a lagging indicator, I think, is what an economist would view it. But that lagging indicator, knowing how most of these forecasts are put together, probably didn't anticipate property values going up by double digits. In the first quarter, we had a 10% increase in residential property rate values, and I saw inside Tucson Business, they're breaking out the champagne because property values went up again in double digits in the last quarter. So all of which is to say that we've got a 7% increase in property tax rates, and at some point that lagging property assessment tool will catch up to reality, and we'll be looking at a 10% increase in property values and a 7% increase in our rates. So at which time, nothing being done by the board, we'll see a 17% increase in property taxes, probably within 2 years. So my challenge really to the board is as we look forward, I understand the puts and takes for this year's budget. It's essentially flat from a spending standpoint, but as we look forward, it's pretty obvious that we're going to see some pretty dramatic increases in property bills for the average taxpayer in the coming year or two. And I would recommend to the board that as you go forward and you look at rates for the subsequent year, that you look at reducing rates to something a little more reasonable. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Any question? Thank you. Next, I'd like to call Linda Felter. Please come up, identify yourself for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Good morning. My name is Linda Felcher. I've been a 50-year resident of City of Tucson, Vail, and Pima County. Good morning to the chairman and members of the board. I'm also a former financial analyst at IBM, and I looked in depth at your budget. And I'm familiar with graph and filler, and your budget is full of that. I'm sitting here for the 3 hours and listening to people. There's contingency left and right in your budget. You had $44 million left over from your budget, and you want to increase the budget 5%. This just doesn't, as a person, make sense to me. Not in the least. And you want to raise my property taxes. We have the 6th highest poverty rate in the country, and you want to steal money off those people's table, their food. How can you do that? How can you justify that? For what? You just spent $1.4 million on a warehouse that was valued at $800,000. You spent $475,000 on a building in South Tucson so the Hells Angels didn't buy it. You just take, and you take from us. I'm tired of it, and I think a lot of people are, but they can't be here. They've got to work. I own my own business, so I can make a point to be here. I haven't got a raise in 5 years. I've lost clients because of our recession, especially the people in the construction industry. I propose to the 3 of you asking for property tax increases to please vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to call on Jerry Autobani. Please come up, identify yourself for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Chairman and members of the Board of Supervisors, my name is Jerry Autoboni. I live in Oro Valley. My electric and my water bills are going up. Now my taxes are going up. Property values are starting to move up, which again will raise my taxes. Are you going to lower my taxes when the property values go up? I'm a senior and on a fixed income, as well as many of my friends. There's a program for seniors, but few qualify. Are you going to improve that program so that you don't force us out of our homes? Now you propose a 10% gas tax, which also will affect your Pima County employees as well, because it's going to cost them more money to go to and from work, because I presume they don't live in downtown Tucson. You are not business friendly. People and businesses are leaving. The economy is not improved. American Airlines left. IBM is laying off. Do you think these people are going to be able to afford this new tax? If more businesses came and paying a decent wage, you would have more taxable income and not put it on the backs of we the seniors. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I call Carolyn Cox. Please come up, identify yourself for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Good morning. My name is Carolyn Cox. I have come to talk to you today about the 800-pound gorilla that's in the room, and that is the fact of our unfunded pension liabilities, which I understand are something like $1 billion. Nobody is even talking about what really has to be happening is that we have to change the way in which we finance pensions into a defined contribution plan rather than a defined benefit plan. I'm concerned about why Pima County carries 2.5 times the debt of any other county. And I do understand that the only way that we can work ourselves out of this mess is by being business friendly, getting more businesses to come in, and more taxes in that manner rather than trying to tax the people who are already overtaxed here through property taxes, gasoline taxes, and all of those kinds of things. So I would ask for you to be a much more business-friendly type county as far as the regulations are concerned. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to call Sophia Blue to please come up, identify yourself for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Good morning, Chairman Valadez, board members, and public. My name is Sophia Blue. I live at 3217 East 25th Street. I am a county employee and SEIU Pima chapter vice chair. While not perfect, this budget is responsible and considers our employees who for years have been falling behind. It is important that we continue to build upon the progress made in this budget. The past 6 years have been hard on almost everyone in Pima County. Over the past 6 years, the cost of living has increased nearly 12%. Gas is more expensive, groceries are more expensive, healthcare costs are more expensive. And all the while, employee take-home pay has decreased. During this recession, we have sacrificed every day to avoid cuts to the services we provide and our community relies on. We prided ourselves in carrying extra weight when times were tough. We thank this board for addressing employee compensation this year in this year's budget. We know it was not easy, but we still have a ways to go to be whole again. As you begin to think about the next fiscal year, we ask that this board make a commitment to finish the work you have started and continue to move employees forward next year. We as a union want to continue to do our part to move this county forward. During Meet and Confer, our team proposed a union-county partnership to find innovative and creative ideas to help the county save money in the delivery of services to Pima County taxpayers. We proposed kicking off the partnership with a contest to find the best ideas from frontline employees. This idea is not new. Similar programs spearheaded by SEIU members across this country have literally found millions of dollars in cost savings. Even though we could not reach agreement with county management during Meet and Confer, we think the idea is a good one. Our union will move forward with the contest to find the best cost-saving ideas from frontline employees, and will seek to work with this board and individual departments to save this county money. We look forward to working with you in the upcoming fiscal year to identify cost savings for taxpayers and to continue to move employees forward. Thank you for your time.
Any questions? Thank you, sir. Next, I'd like to call Mr. Randall Nice. Please come up, sir. Identify yourself for the record. And you have 3 minutes.
Good morning. I'm Randall Nice, Vice President of Fraternal Order of Police, Lodge 20. We represent about 350 commissioned, corrections, and retired members of the Pima County Sheriff's Department. I want to talk today about the county manager submitted a memo recently about potential our pay and compensation issues. There are some issues we felt we needed to clarify. First and foremost, we are not asking for a pay raise. We would not need a COLA raise if we were asking for decompression. We'd like to be paid the money the county told us we would get paid when we were hired on. We would not need a COLA or a pay raise if people had that. Wages have been stagnant. We haven't received any step increases for the last 5-6 years. The memo compared our pay scale to other agencies nearby. We take issue with that because, like I said, we're not getting our pay scale paid. We're getting our entry-level pay. There are no steps. So to compare our pay scales to other police agency pay scales, I think is not fair because we're not being paid that. Another issue that a lot of our members brought up was that we are at the bottom end of this pay scale. I didn't see a single agency mention in that memo that we were actually getting paid more than. We're at the bottom of that kind of pay range, and being the second largest police agency in southern Arizona, I don't think that's very fitting. Issue many of our members brought up was the county manager compared us to agencies such as Marana, Yuma, and Pinal County. We took a look at, for example, the Marana town manager gets paid $155,000. The Yuma county manager gets paid $165,000, and the Pinal county manager gets paid between $180,000 and $200,000, whereas the Pima county manager gets paid $265,000. So we don't think it's fair to compare us to them when the county manager himself is making so much more. I don't come here to be confrontational or adversarial. We do appreciate what the board has done for us this year with the COLA increase. However, the Fraternal Order of Police is very concerned about losing deputies to outside agencies, not just because some deputies need to make ends meet and might be looking for greener pastures, but because some of them might just leave because they feel the way they perceive they're being treated by the county as not necessarily fair. So I understand you have your budget for this year. We just ask that moving on in next year's budget and when looking at paying compensation, you keep things like that in mind. So again, thank you for what you have done for the employees this year. We just ask you consider this in future years. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Nice? Thank you, Ms. Nice. Next, I call Maya Castillo. Please come up, identify yourself for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Maya Castillo, President, SCIU, Arizona. We'd like to thank you for the consideration you provided to employees in the coming fiscal year's budget. While we feel that some simple solutions could have improved the outcome for employees, we also understand the ongoing property tax contraction and are looking forward to an improved future. I also encourage you to look forward to a future where retaining employees and recruiting the best new ones is a top priority. I urge you to undergo a wage market survey in the coming fiscal year. I believe that you'll find that county wages need adjustment in order to compete for good people who provide good services. Pima County shouldn't be a training ground for these employees, but a place where people settle down with their families, provide good services over the long term, and pay taxes. I know you've seen the wage issue in various departments like IT, where below market wages have resulted in contracted services, something that we do not support as a long-term viable way for county residents to get a good, solid, and consistent services. I thank you for your current support of employees, and I know you will continue the support in the coming year. Thank you.
Any questions for Ms. Castillo? Hear none. Thank you, Ms. Castillo. No. Ms. Castillo. What? Now, I do have 3 speakers if necessary, and that's Stephen Rubin, Judge Karen Adams, and Judge Sally Simmons. So as we proceed forward, and if we'd like to hear from them, they said if necessary. So with that, that's all the speaker cards I have on this hearing.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Miller,
I have some general comments I'd like to make on this budget process.
please proceed.
I sit here today as a member on this board, and I'm stunned at the fact that we'll be raising the primary property tax rate close to the maximum allowed increase under the state statute. This is a time when we at a very minimum should have held spending at the current level in the current year and reprioritize the spending and cut spending in some areas and increased it in others. However, this should not be surprising. Whenever the valuations go down in Pima County, the Board of Supervisors increases the rates to make up for it. This isn't fooling anyone. The truth is, based upon the recommendation, the county will increase spending by close to $33 million, or 2.65% more for next year. The taxpayers of Pima County are just beginning to recover from a dreadful economic recession and are now facing tremendous economic uncertainty with the oncoming effects of Obamacare, not only at the national level, but now in the state of Arizona. Electric rates are increasing, water bills are going up, sewer rates are through the roof, grocery prices are increasing, and on and on. This is in addition to the resolution the board passed on May 21st, with the exception of myself, requesting the Arizona legislature increase the gas tax by 10 cents per gallon. This tax rate increase and the increase in spending is yet another slap in the face to the employees and the residents of this county. Yet the average taxpayer is required to budget their money. They're forced to make do with less as Pima County demands more from them. They can't keep spending at the same rate as last year because more money is consumed by Pima County government. The working men and women of Pima County must cut their spending below last year's to pay for this added weight of government spending as Pima County comes knocking on the door asking for more. Yes, they are forced to forego vacation with their children, the trip to Mount Lemmon, and for many, clothing and food, so they can pay the additional taxes they're bearing down on them in the coming year. And this is for homeowners and renters alike, because the homeowner will pass on this cost to the renters. Mr. Huckleberry, during our study session, you called this a maintenance of effort budget. Where was the challenge to cut spending? What cost reductions did you identify? That was a question we asked in the budget review session, and you stated that I quote, and I quote, none. I believe we as a board have failed the taxpayers as we didn't even consider a spending cut. It is the same mantra year after year. We always need more. The problem with that practice, eventually the well of the middle-class citizen runs dry. We don't have new businesses coming in to increase the tax base. This tax increase is falling on the middle class and many seniors who have retired here living on fixed incomes. This will drive more citizens into poverty as they teeter on the edge of making their mortgage payments and putting food on the table for their children. It hurts the most vulnerable among us. We have fought business startups such as Rosemont Copper and made it so difficult to do business in this county that many have left, and we now have a tarnished reputation to overcome. While Maricopa County thrives, Pima County is stuck in a rut, a big rut filled with potholes, weeds, and blight. 61% of the roads in Pima County are in failed to poor condition, and 72% in my district, District 1, are in failed to poor condition. This is a complete and utter failure of county government to provide one of the most basic needs that should come from county government. In response to my question in the study session, you state regarding the pittance, a mere rounding error that is being spent on the roads, $5 million, you stated, not everyone cares about roads. And you finally admitted in that meeting it will be $5 million for road repairs in Pima County next year. While you may have thought that remark was warranted, I'm here to tell you a lot of people in this town care an awful lot about the roads. 80% of my constituent calls in District 1 are complaints about the roads and the conditions of the roads and the safety issues. When you listen, you will understand that. The failed roads are a sign of what type of community we live in. It is a red flag to those who come to visit our community, for businesses coming into our community. It shows there is a lack of caring, a lack of excellence, and a lack of drive to tell you it is not and I will tell you, it is not a positive reflection. I've heard many people speak of moving to Oro Valley because the community is clean, road maintenance is a priority, and it shows that they care about their citizens. Oro Valley and Marana planned for their HERF sweeps and did their road repairs. They did it by making it a priority. They were thinking about cost and how best to manage the road repair budget. It is a lack of prioritizing road spending that has caused Pima County to have such a failure in blighted roads. Pima County taxpayers, and especially the employees of Pima County, pay U of A Health South $15 million per year to subsidize graduate school education for medical school students. The state of Arizona stopped this funding because they recognized we could no longer afford it. Yet Pima County taxpayers are now footing this bill. This amount is 3 times more than will go to road repairs next year per our discussion on the budget. The taxpayers have already paid via bonds $48 million for a hospital for U of A Health South to operate. Now we are asked to continue paying for medical school tuition. Why not engineers? Why not business majors? Why not geologists? It is just wrong to use county taxpayer money for this purpose. Medical school students should be paying their own tuition. This should not be on the backs of property tax payers. Pay raises are important to retain good employees. Our employees are our most valuable resources. They have suffered without raises for 6 years. And how can we look these employees in the eye, many of whom are barely getting by, and tell them they need to pay this $15 million for medical school tuition? I will say most people wouldn't be so against this increase if they saw a return on their tax dollars, but I hear it from everyone. Year after year, their tax bills increase as the roads and infrastructure continue to crumble, the promised high-paying jobs don't come, and more people fall into poverty. The people I talk to, and these are people from across Pima County, all 5 districts, are sick and tired of paying higher taxes, higher rents, for more of the same. I will not support a tax increase when we have not acted responsibly and made the effort to cut the budget, to find the waste, to accomplish the basic needs of the community, which are safety, roads, and other public infrastructure, and taking care of our employees. Thank you.
I believe I've made it very clear on applause, boos, or hisses, or any interruptions. And I will be asking people to leave if interruptions continue to occur.
Mr.
Other
Chairman?
comments? Supervisor Elias.
Yeah, I'd like to start off my comments about this year's budgets with a note to our employees, and I appreciate the member of FOP that got up here and spoke to us, understand the comments that you made. Our public safety officers are most important to us, and we recognize that, and we thank them for the work they do. I also like to thank you for understanding this difficult financial situation we're in. But everybody has a lot of ways of cutting and chopping and dicing those figures, so they come up to be a lot of different things. But the Vice President of SEIU, Sophia, I thought your comments were particularly pointed and poignant about that situation, and I know you personally, and I know your family has struggled, as well as other employees' families, and I know you all, and we need you, and we trust you, and in large part, the financial situation that the county's in, one where we have a significant amount in our rainy day fund, is because of the work that you all do. We have no illusions of that, but recognize that you're helping in a very difficult time to make our government stronger and make us be able to survive these difficult times. We have some money on the table for you, a package of almost $10 million for our employees. I wish it could be better. I wish it could be stronger. I wish we would have thought about some of the other suggestions that you all made during the past year. But, you know, when you make a big pot of cocido, there's a lot of different things that go in there, and everybody has their own little favorites. And so what I'm saying is it's never always one way. It's a compromise package and work that needs to be done. Ms. Castillo, as always, eloquent speaker, a strong advocate for the SEIU members, as well as all your employees, all the employees here at Pima County. And that's why I always particularly appreciate your efforts and those of SEIU, because I think you look out for all our employees, whether they're members or not, and I think that's important to us all. So I appreciate that, because without that, we'd be in trouble. Yeah, you know, $15 million for Keno is a huge sum. We ask why not other professions, because doctor saves lives. Let's be honest. You know, and the geographic positioning of Keno makes it so that we have to recognize that public hospitals need to be available in all parts of our community. And the work and the change that's taken place at University of Arizona South Campus Hospital has been good, and they've saved lives. And that's a smart investment on our future. Doctors that are trained here at hospitals in wherever they train, actually, studies show that they stay in those communities and continue to practice. We need doctors here. Talk to the folks up in Maricopa County if you don't believe that. They have a bigger strain on the number of doctors that are available in their community. One of my colleagues sit here and says that this board always raises taxes when the property values go down. I would just remind everybody that last year property values dropped over 12.5%. We absorbed that entire loss and did not increase any property tax rates at the time, other than I think one secondary in the library. Is that correct, Chuck? It was last year. So, you know, not quite the truth. I think this is a good budget that's important for us to move on with, that's important for us to fund public safety. 60% of the general fund goes to that. We have representation of that here in this room. We appreciate that. We know you struggle. We see your requests for additional funding. Difficult situation. Again, back to that compromise that we all have to share. But please don't doubt the importance of the work that you do, and us maintaining the courts in the best way possible is of paramount importance to all of us in the community, not just to the Pima County Board of Supervisors. So I did want to say that, and particularly, you know that I appreciate the work over at Juvenile Court, because it's done some amazing things to help stem the side of juvenile crime that really was hurting us for so long, and we found some good results over there with some great people, so I appreciate that as well. Those are some really of my comments. I mean, Mr. Huckleberry's recommendations about spending a little more money on corrections officers and the Performing Arts Center in Green Valley, the Southeast Shooting Range, Ajo Chamber of Commerce, Southern Arizona AIDS Foundation, Littletown Food Bank, all seem to me to be very appropriate and actions that we need to take to keep in place the services the government provides, as well as safety net issues, as well as addressing some sequester issues. And we'll see how those turn out over the course of the year as well, and try and make intelligent decisions about them as they come along. Thank you.
Other comments? If not, I'd like to have Mr. Huckleberry respond to some of the points that have been brought up. Mr. Huckleberry?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, a couple of points. One, the property tax rate that's being proposed at the board adopted and tentative is not near the maximum. The total levy in the primary would be $280 million. The maximum that's allowed by the Constitution is really about $360 million. So you can see you're significantly below that. What you're below is this truth in taxation standard that's set by the Arizona legislature that talks about tax neutral. And so the levy at $3.71 per hundred is below, about 1 cent below the neutral levy as defined by the legislature about what a tax increase is. And so I think that's important, because if we were at the max, we'd levy another $80 million in primary property taxes. The other issues, I can address them if you'd like. The issue is that, yes, I did say this is a maintenance of effort budget, and I did not ask departments to decrease this year in submitting a budget, but that's really half of the answer, because in the previous 3 years I've asked them to reduce their budgets in the aggregate between 12 and 15%. So it was my own judgment, and I think I answered that in writing, that said that any further reductions would result in decreased in services. Maintenance of roads is a big issue, and I absolutely agree. We are, in fact, putting a Band-Aid on it with $5 million levied in the primary property tax. But the issue is whether it's more tax equitable to repair roads with property taxes, or you repair roads with gas taxes. And my view is that the long-run solution is to repair them with gas taxes, and that's why I asked this board to request a 10-cent a gallon gas tax increase that's been, will be sent to the legislature. If you levy a countywide tax, what you're essentially doing is repairing the roads in the unincorporated area with money from citizens that lie in incorporated places, whether it's City of Tucson, or Valley Marana, South Tucson, or Sarita. And I fully acknowledge that the roads in Marana and Oro Valley are probably a lot better than those in Pima County, but I'd also conjecture, and probably factually correct, that most of those roads didn't exist 10 years ago. They were built by developers, they're relatively brand new roads, or they could be like where I live. I pay to maintain my own roads through a homeowners association. So, facts kind of make answers. So be happy to answer any other questions. Again, the decision for the board is those 6 supplemental items that I requested. You can obviously make any adjustments. You can reduce, reallocate between your tentative adoption and now. And then I think you need to make a decision about what you do, if you do anything, with the difference between the 6 adjustments that I recommended to you, total $744,000. What that will do is give you 2 options. You can allocate the difference that you levied or proposed to be levied in the tentative budget at $371, or you could, and I think that's about $3.1 million left, or you could simply reduce the rate, which would then make that go back as a tax savings, and that would reduce your rate to about the numbers are in here, 366 something, 3665.
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Carroll.
If Mr. Huckleberry's summary is done, I have a simple question regarding HERF monies this year. As we know, you have people who monitor the legislature. What remains intact from this year's allocation? What have we lost? And again, I think the effort on the 2 parts of the gas tax being one, the 1 cent that was for leaking underground storage tanks that seems to have cured or finished the project that it was assigned or earmarked for. And secondly, the up to 10 cents in increase in the HERF, the gas tax, to create more HERF revenues in the future. What are the chances? What's left intact from this year? What's been removed? And I do agree that obviously general fund is less for all of us probably the last choice to maintain and repair roads with. I know there's been HERF money spent through our original bond from 1997 HERF revenues. Could you just give us a summary of the HERF dollars floating around today, where they're going to be in the future, and what our chances of increasing that gas tax really are, up to 10 cents or a penny, whatever you say?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman and Supervisor Carroll, all of our efforts with the legislature to reduce the transfers out of HERF failed this year, and so the legislature continued the diversions at the same level they were the previous year. Our request to transfer the 1 cent from the underground storage fund to HERF fund failed, and it was too late in the session to really address the issue of the 10-cent gallon gas tax increase. That's something that I think will be at least our foremost effort, and at least obviously this board sets the legislative agenda in October, and we tend to ask the board to make that another priority with regard to the upcoming session of the legislature that begins in January 2014.
Thank you very much. And the last thing I wanted to ask you about, as we know, U of A South, there is a $15 million expenditure that is going to be providing medical education for students. Can you explain that for those here and those watching at home, what that type of expenditure by this board brings in return, besides the obvious being doctors in practice in Tucson?
Yes, Mr. Chairman and Supervisor Carroll. Historically, we have provided funding to support the hospital operation. Previously, it was known as Keno Community Hospital in 2003 and 4. During that year, the general fund support was roughly $36 million. Over that year, we then transitioned to then what was called University Physicians, Inc., which is the physician training arm of the College of Medicine, who have also private practice. They operated a hospital for a number of years, again, drawing down our support over that time period from about $25 million per year to $15 million per year. We then, about 2 or 3 years ago, the Arizona legislature did not appropriate money or failed to appropriate money for graduate medical education, which is matching federal funds. And when you match the federal funds, they come back to the training institution at usually 2 to 1 or 3 to 1, depending upon whether it's a medically underserved area or the type of services being provided. In our particular case, at least in the first year, I believe, with the Arizona, we then, instead of supporting the hospital directly, we provided support to the university through the Arizona Board of Regents, which then allows the regents to use our allocation as a public institution, that money to match the federal Centers for Medicare and Medicaid that then returned back to this community $45 million to actually train physicians. And that was used to train physicians not only at University Medical Center South Campus, but at the university campus and in the entire system. So while it does in fact support the hospital from a physician training perspective, it also supports simply the education of physicians within the community. It is likely that one of these days that the Arizona will see the wisdom of supporting graduate medical education. That money will then probably go back in the state budget, and then our money can be, again, we have indicated that we more than likely will enter into a longer term agreement with the Arizona Board of Regents. This budget contains the second year of the last intergovernmental agreement with the Board of Regents. We'll have to come up with a new intergovernmental agreement, At that point, I would recommend a 5-year agreement at $15 million per year to support the teaching mission as well as support the financial stability of the University of Arizona Medical Center South Campus.
All of your recommendations would be conditioned on an annual review and a ratification by the board. You can encumber future boards to support that health facility, is that correct?
That's correct. Every contract, including the contract we signed with the Board of Regents, has a non-appropriation clause, and that's an annual, that's a standard clause that goes in all of our contracts. It says for any reason the board cannot, or the board may not fund it for the next year, even though it may be a 5-year agreement. It's a standard non-appropriation clause for anything.
Any appropriation, including...
We fund all of our obligations on a year-to-year contract, year-to-year budget approval process.
Thank you very much. I think that answers my questions.
Mr. Chairman?
Supervisor Miller.
I have just one last question on this. Is there a requirement that once these doctors are trained by the University of Arizona that they stay in Pima County and serve a certain period of time here?
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Miller, no. And what we do see is the trends is that in most cases, and it's probably about a 80% correlation, is that where a physician trains is where he stays. And one of the issues that we've been trying to support over the years is to get physicians to stay in rural communities, which is becoming increasingly difficult and will probably become a problem in the future.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I did get one more speaker slip. I'm going to go ahead and entertain it at this point. Obviously, I'm going to ask Sergio Mendez to please come up. Identify yourself for the record, sir, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Sergio Mendez. I live at 16340 North Meadowcrest Drive, Catalina, Arizona. I'm the lost child of this county. Recently, I went to my neighbors, and I started to talk to them about what's the biggest issue, and the biggest issue is our roads. Many of the people that I went and talked to were 20 years residents of Catalina. The roads have never been properly maintained up there. But when I went and talked to them, most people didn't know how the board worked. Most of them didn't even know we got a new board of supervisor. But the one thing they did know is how much Chuck Huckleberry made. That to me was rough because I wanted the community to know that they need to come down here and say something. Well, then they said, why don't you go? I was like, I do go. But the thing is, we pay a lot of taxes. We know the taxes fluctuate constantly. They go up, they go down. But we don't see any improvement. We haven't seen any improvement. Our roads are crumbling beneath our feet. There is no more roads even in some places. It's just patches, and the patches aren't lasting because the employees behind me aren't given the proper equipment or the proper amount of materials to do it, so that way they last the time they need to. I understand that the HERF money was taken from Pima County, but this county should have discovered 15 years ago that that money was never going to be able to maintain the roadways on its own. The budget needs to be able to support it in Pima County, and it is better that a property tax, that a fund from the general fund maintain this roadway, because it is the Pima County residents, be they Marana, Oro Valley, South Tucson, who drive across them. They will go using county roads to all the different jurisdictions. Aina Road, La Cañada, La Choya, they connect all these towns together. But everybody uses them. They're all county residents. And it is better that it comes from the general fund to maintain these roadways, because we know that the state won't be able to take them away from us. We know that. So I asked this board, please put more money into this roadways and do better with the budget that you are given, and not ask us to bear more of the weight on our shoulders. I did the property tax increase because I'm an intelligent young man. I figured out it was going to be $160 more for my parents' home. That's $160 in my parents. Right now, it's difficult. So I'm asking this board to deny this 7% increase, because it is not conducive to this county. It's not conducive to the residents of my community in Catalina. It's not conducive to, I know, the residents of 2, 3, and 5, districts 2, 3, and 5. So please deny this increase. Please work within your budget that you are given from this county. It's difficult for us to constantly support you, constantly asking us for more money for this budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mendez. All right, we are now at the items. Item number. Are there any questions from the board? First of all, before I go directly to the item. If there are no further questions, then the Board of Supervisors sitting as other boards, Flood Control District Board, item number 6, and resolution number 2013-FC5.
Mr. Chairman, I've moved to close the public hearing for the Flood Control District Board and to pass and adopt Resolution 2013-FC5 in the amount of $12,624,028 for an effective tax rate of 0.2635.
Second.
Motion and a second to close the public hearing and approve item number 6 and resolution number 2013-FC number 5 for an effective budget of $12,624,028 and an effective tax rate of 0.2635. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Bronson?
Aye.
Supervisor Carroll?
No.
Supervisor Elias?
Aye.
Supervisor Miller?
No.
Chairman Valadez?
Aye. By your vote of 3 to 2, motion carries. Moving on to Improvement District, item number 7, and the resolutions number 12, 17, and 20.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to move to close public hearing on the Improvement District Boards for the fiscal year 2013-2014 and to pass and adopt Resolution number 12 in the amount of $36,000 for Hayhook Ranch, Resolution number 17 in the amount of $12,837 for Mortimer Addition, and Resolution 20 in the amount as follows for the following districts: Street Lighting Improvement Districts, Desert Steps, $2,126, Hermosa Hills Estates, $1,822, Longview Estates Number 1, $3,848, Longview Estates Number 2, $4,455, Rolling Hills, $7,290, Manana Grande B, $3,038, Manana Grande C, $4,962, Carriage Hills Number 1, $3,544, Lakeside Number 1, $2,835, Carriage Hills Number 3, $1,215, Cardinal Estates, $5,815, Orange Grove Valley Estates, $3,134, Pepper Tree, $4,340, Littletown, $10,104, Midvale Park, $5,911, Peach Valley, $1,550, Oak Tree Number 1, $9,939, Oak Tree Number 2, $7,800, Oak Tree Number 3, $10,225, Salida del Sol, $6,411.
Second. Excuse me. Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Carroll.
I'd accept Mr. Elias' second. May I make a statement on this?
Please proceed.
These are improvement district budgets that have been voted on by a majority of the residents within these neighborhoods, including some neighborhoods that are within Pima County's District 4. I want to support the resolution, and as Mr. Huckleberry earlier said, I've been a participant in these improvement districts, and I want to say that they're efficiently run, they're capably administrated, but also they are a voluntary tax that people put on their own neighborhoods to improve street lighting and other improvements by resolution of their neighborhood. So I accept the second. I'm going to vote in favor of this Improvement District Board budget.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, the motion before us is on the adoption of item number 7, resolution number 12, 17, and 20, and the districts and amounts as read by Supervisor Bronson. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Bronson?
Aye.
Supervisor Carroll?
Aye.
Supervisor Elias?
Aye.
Supervisor Miller?
Aye.
Chairman Valadez?
Aye. By your vote of 4 to 1, motion carries, and that was also the closure of that hearing.
Was unanimous.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was-
Unanimous.
Oh, I'm sorry, 5-0.
5-0.
I apologize.
And
You
Mr.
better
Chairman,
note it when it happens. I gotta
Mr.
tell
Chairman,
you.
I'd like to add, Mr. Chairman, that not only was I a participant in Improvement District, I got a refund when it was all over. I think it was a shocker to me. But the check did cash. What do you know?
All right, Library District Board, item number 8.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to move the closed public hearing for the Library District Board and adopt the final budget, Library District, County Free Library District, final budget for fiscal year 2013-2014, and Resolution 2013 LD1 in the amount of $35,305,000 for an effective tax rate of .3753.
Motion and a second to close the public hearing and approve item number 8 and resolution number 2013
Mr. Chairman?
LD1. Supervisor Elias.
I just wanted to comment that I particularly appreciate the work that our librarians put in at the various branches throughout our community. This year, we have had several difficult issues at our libraries with acts of violence happening there. We need to do a better job of protecting those places as they are critical to our community, critical to the young people and elders who go there, as well as to the many families that use their services, but also to protect our librarians as well. And that has been increasingly difficult. So I just wanted to make note of that we are very aware of that. We have a keen sense of what we're doing there, and if necessary, fully armed peace officers will be there at libraries to protect them and to protect the patrons. So have no doubt about that, and have no doubt about how much we appreciate and love our librarians.
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Carroll.
Mr. Chairman, I also want to commend the Library District. Recently have gotten the budget from the Library District and realized how much has been spent to help people prepare for resume distribution to try to help them find work, also homework help and other aids and efforts that they've made to help kids stay in school and get better grades and prepare themselves for a lifetime of work and productive citizenship. Thank you very much.
Any other comments? All right, hearing none, the motion before us as read before. Roll call.
Supervisor Bronson?
Aye.
Supervisor Carroll?
Aye.
Supervisor Elias?
Aye.
Supervisor Miller?
No.
Chairman Valadez?
Aye. By your vote of 4-1, motion carries. Moving on to Stadium District Board, item number 9, resolution number 2013 SD1.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to move to close the Library District Board budget hearing and adopt the Library Board District, Stadium District, I'm sorry, and adopt the Stadium District budget for fiscal year 2013 and 14 and Resolution 2013 SD1 in the amount of $5,039,746.
Motion and a second to close the public hearing and approve item number 9 and resolution number 2013-SD1 in the amount of $5,039,746. Roll call.
Supervisor Bronson?
Aye.
Supervisor Carroll?
No.
Supervisor Elias?
Aye.
Supervisor Miller?
No.
Chairman Valadez?
Aye. By your vote of 3-2, motion carries. Board of Supervisors sitting in regular session. Board of Supervisors, item number 10, the final budget for fiscal year 2013-14, and resolution number 2013-44.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to move that we close the public hearing for the final budget for fiscal year 2013 and 14, and to pass and adopt Resolution 2013-44 in the amount of $1,270,686,686 for an effective tax rate of 3.7100, and to adopt the recommendations in the June 18th final budget adoption memo from Mr. Huckleberry, the 6 recommended adjustments as outlined in that memo. And that's my motion. I would also have some direction to staff on a couple items in there if you want me to do that at this time. Or
I'd second the motion.
Okay.
Please go along,
Please proceed with your staff
Supervisor
direction.
Bronson.
Yeah, I think in terms of staff direction, we have a number of agencies that we typically have dues to pay. I want to particularly note with County Supervisors Association, I would like us not to pay those dues until after we adopt our legislative budget, for, our legislative agenda for this coming year. So hold in abeyance and under the direction of the board representative to the County Supervisors Association to not pay the bill again until we adopt our legislative agenda, and the County Supervisors Board representative has okayed that payment.
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Carroll.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to ask Supervisor Bronson for some clarification. Our legislative agenda comes out in October.
Right.
You want to hold the payment to the County Supervisor Association, in the association which is headquartered in Phoenix at the legislature, until after October 1st. Until our County Supervisor Association representative has the assurances that our legislative agenda is going to be reviewed and discussed with us. What seems to be the concern that generated this?
Well, I think that as we
direction?
move forward, we certainly have some priorities, and I would hope that some of our priorities, understanding that there are 15 counties and not everybody's going to have the same priority, but that we will see a few of our priorities for the association as well.
But that does not hold to the Arizona Association of County Officials
We
dues?
can do that also.
I'm okay. I would say that the CSA has gone far enough. I think you're making a statement about what they've effectively supported this last legislative session. As Mr. Huckleberry said earlier, not a lot of our HERF allocation requests were responded to and favorably. So I would just leave it at CSA, but I just wanted the clarification to make sure that I could discuss with Craig Sullivan, their executive director, or anyone else on the board, or a part of our coalition that we've built with the other 14 counties, why this was approved, if it is going to be approved. And I thank you for the clarification, Supervisor.
You're welcome. No, I think we're living under sequestration.
Right.
We obviously have, as we deal with HERF issues and several other issues, we need the legislature to understand sweeping funds is not beneficial to the 15 counties and to the state as well. We all have to take and act responsibly as we struggle through this economic recovery.
I'm just glad to hear our board and our administration is taking seriously the business of legislative agendas, and I'm going to support your motion. But I'm not going to support your budget. But I'm going to let you know that seems pretty reasonable. That seems pretty reasonable to put a carrot out there, and I guess you can withhold the funds if the legislative agenda that you seek is not agreed upon. So thank you very much for the explanation. I just want to make sure that I can explain next time I'm in Phoenix when I get cornered by other members exactly what the motivation was. So thank you very much.
And I'd like to ask for a friendly amendment on the part of the maker and the seconder. The amounts required for the 6 additional items are actually not in the table that we read, but rather are $1,266,899,617 for an effective tax rate of $3.6665. And if the maker and the seconder would agree to that.
You're right.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I agree with that.
Okay. Is there any further discussion?
I was just looking at the chart.
All right. I'd just like to certainly thank everybody who was involved in putting together this budget. I especially want to thank SEIU because obviously a large part of the reason we were able to work something out in terms of the salary increases for our employees was through all your efforts. So I want to publicly and personally thank you for all your efforts. So with that, on item number 10, we close the public hearing. And we approve resolution number 2013-44 with the budget amount of $1,266,899,617 for a rate of 3.6665. Roll call.
Supervisor Bronson.
Aye.
Supervisor Carroll.
No.
Supervisor Elias.
Aye.
Supervisor Miller.
No.
Chairman Valadez.
Aye. By your vote of 3-2, motion carries. Moving on to item 11, the debt service final budget for fiscal year 2013-14.
Mr. Chairman, I will move to close public hearing for the debt service final budget for fiscal year 2013-14 and adopt a debt service final budget for that year in the amount of $124,043,471 for an effective tax rate of 0.7800.
Second.
Any questions? If not, the motion before us is on the closing of the public hearing on item number 11 and adopting the debt service budget at $124,043,471 and an effective rate of 0.7800. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Bronson.
Aye.
Supervisor Carroll. No. Supervisor Elias.
Aye.
Supervisor Miller.
No.
Chairman Valadez.
Aye. By your vote of 3, motion carries. And we are done with the budget hearings for this year. We do have one change to the agenda, and I'm going to go ahead and take a 10-minute break as soon as I read it. The change is on page 8, item number 23, hearing franchise license permits, liquor license. Applicant has withdrawn the liquor license application. With that, I will go ahead and take a 10-minute recess, and we will return at the sound of the gavel. Back to order. If people could please find the seats. Supervisor Elias, Supervisor Miller, Supervisor Bronson. All right. Board of Supervisors sitting as other boards, Flood Control District Board. What's the will of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move the item. Item 12.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve item number 12, Riparian Habitat Mitigation Plan. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to Improvement District, item 13, 14, 15, and resolution number 7, 7, and 13.
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Carroll.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to go ahead and move the Improvement Districts 13 and District 4, 14 District 1 project, and 15 District 3 project. Resolutions number 7, I guess it should just be number 7, Camino de...
Yeah, let's double check.
Camino
that.
Ojo.
Both
How
seven?
come they're both
I
7?
believe, and Councilor Mr. Huckberry, I believe they're independent resolutions for each of the respective districts, so yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Then again, I move items 13 in District 4, Resolution number 7, 14 in District 1, Resolution number 7, and 15 District 3, Resolution number 13. As was discussed during the budget, these are voluntary improvement districts voted on by a majority of the residents of these areas.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve item number 13, resolution number 7, 14, resolution number 7, 15, resolution number 13. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Library District Board, item number 16.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Elias.
I'm going to go ahead and move item 16, computer and Wi-Fi use policy for the Pima County Library System.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve item number 16. All those, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay.
Nay.
By your vote of 4 to 1, motion carries. Board of Supervisors sitting in regular session. Consent calendar. Do you have any cards? I do not have any cards. Is there anyone here who would like to speak on a consent calendar item only? Hearing none, what's the will of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to pull
Supervisor
2
Miller.
items. One item is just for a question, but I'd like to pull item 1 for a separate vote, and then on item 9, I have a question.
Hang on, let me pull it and mark it here on my calendar.
I'll tell you what page it's on in a second here. Page
Okay, so
13.
item number 1, you said?
Yeah, item number 1.
And what's the other one?
Item number 9.
Okay. All right, let's go with item number 1.
Okay, on item number 1, my understanding is this website is for maintenance, for housing searches, for low-income housing. I just really have a hard time supporting this because, in my opinion, they should be using an MLS, a real estate agent who has access to the MLS service, which would be free. I believe this is a redundancy. If anyone has an explanation of why we need to have a separate database maintained for this, I'm willing to hear why we have this. It's the item number 1 on page 12 of the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, very often these are requirements associated with federal grants and processing housing assistance programs. I can't give you the specifics on it, but obviously, if the board would like, we can do a little research and get you the answer. But traditionally, these are, usually and very often grant request requirements.
Mr. Huckleberry, if it was for grant requested funds, I guess my question would be is why are we paying for this out of the general fund with the $12,400? So if anyone doesn't object to this, I'd like to continue this so that we could get that information. I'd like to move that we continue this item number 1 to the July 2nd agenda, I guess is the next agenda.
Motion second to continue item number 1 on page 12 of the consent calendar to the July 2nd board meeting. Any discussion? Just one question, Mr. Huckleberry, do you know if this will affect anything on the contract?
Mr. Chairman, let me see if I see Margaret Kish back here. Maybe she has the answer. She normally doesn't attend these meetings, but I guess she did for budget hearing. Margaret, do you have any answers on that item?
Ms. Kish.
Thank you, Chairman Valadez. Supervisor Miller, this is an effort that both the city and the county have funded at least for 20 years, in my understanding. It used to be a low-cost housing list that was provided by a local agency. We helped to create a database for low-cost housing for individuals to be able to search anywhere throughout the county, especially those who are in need of emergency and transitional housing coming out of shelters, individuals who have special adaptive needs in requiring low-cost housing. For us, this is a significant service that we provide not only to individuals that can access it 24 hours a day, but also to the landlords and to the agencies that work with low-income individuals. In reality, the realtors use our website to help move people into low-cost housing. These are all rental properties. These are not properties for sale. The extension to July 2nd could impact our ability to draw down completely on the City of Tucson funds that will run out on June 30th.
Okay,
Chairman?
so
I'm going to rescind my second.
I just had one question. So this is a database of rental units that is
Yes.
not accessible via the MLS system. Okay, I
Yes,
understand.
Supervisor.
Okay, thank you. I'll withdraw my motion to continue this, and I'll make a motion to approve this item.
Thank you, Ms. Kish.
Second.
Motion and second to approve item number 1 on the consent calendar, page 12. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving to item number 9 on page 13.
Okay. Okay, on item 9, I just had a question. It looks like we're using these attorneys for specialized services, for specialized expertise that we do not have in the county attorney's office. And since it was such a high amount of $100,000, I was wondering, is there any reason that we wouldn't hire attorneys with this expertise, or is this kind of a unique situation where we don't use these services very often?
Mr. Huckleberry. Or Mr. Straub, whichever one's more
I'll
appropriate.
defer to Mr. Straub.
Mr. Straub.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Miller, yeah, these are all three of these items, 8, 9, and 10 are for workers' comp. And you are correct, we do not have that expertise within the Civil Division County Attorney's Office. And I think most counties do have that work done on an outside counsel basis because it is so specialized. And I think in this particular case, that if there was an increase in the contract amount, I mean, again, it's a not to exceed amount. It may be that, I don't know the particulars with respect to this, risk management might have a better idea since they utilize the contracts on a regular basis. But my suspicion would be that while they do share the work around, that this contract needed an amendment to be able to provide the service.
Okay, so it isn't something that is needed on an ongoing basis. It's specialized service periodically that we need. Okay.
No, we do it on an ongoing basis, but it is something that we have not considered bringing in-house. If the board would like to consider that, I mean, that's something I can discuss with the county attorney, and it's something we could take a look at. But it's usually these cases are, there's a fairly extensive volume of them. We have actually at least 3 contractors available for this. It is a substantial amount of work, and they do it at a very cost-effective rate.
Okay, so it sounds like it wouldn't make sense to bring this in-house.
We have not found
Mr.
that to be the
Huckleberry,
case,
it
but
looks like
that's
you're
an-
shaking your head no there, that this makes more sense to keep it.
Mr. Huckleberry.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and Supervisor Miller, I agree with the county attorney. These are, very specialized cases, and we see specific law firms that basically the only thing they do is this type of work, and so therefore, because the subject is so complex and changes with federal and state law, we've always used specialized contractors and specialized attorneys. Same thing, it's a good example would be a medical malpractice. We provide medical services out of the public health agency, but if in fact and we've had a few of these cases, medical malpractice, we hire outside counsel with specialty in medical malpractice.
Thank you. And I move that we approve item number 9 on the consent agenda.
May I suggest that we move the remainder of consent?
Okay. I would move. Okay. Second.
A motion before us is on approval of the remaining of the consent calendar. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving to item number 19, Mr. Huckleberry.
Mr. Chairman, this is, we have Arlen, if you would like a report on this, but it's just simply it's a request to have the board approve the findings of the Kanoa Architectural Historic Review Committee with regard to the Green Valley Medical Center.
Mr. Carroll?
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I'd like to go ahead and move item 19. Very happy to have the county administrator's assistance and those members that are in the audience that are here today to speak on behalf of the Green Valley Medical Center. I don't know if you're still willing to do it, but I'd just like to go ahead and move the item and approve 19, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve item number 19.
And the recommendations 1 through 5.
And the recommendations 1 through 5. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to item 20, which is the Outside Agency Advisory Committee recommendations for fiscal year 2013-14.
Mr. Chairman?
Supervisor Elias, would you like to read the list?
If you'd like me to, Mr.
No,
Chairman.
please don't.
I could do it, I assure you. Maybe not as quick as some, but I could get through it. I'm going to go ahead and move item 20, Outside Agency Advisory Committee Funding Recommendations for fiscal year 2013-2014.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve item number 20. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay.
Nay.
By your vote of 4 to 1, motion carries. Moving on to procurement, item number 21, unfinished business contract. What's the will of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move the item. Number 21, the contract item number CTPO 110300-10-P in the amount of $400,000 for CH2M engineers.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve item number 21. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay.
Nay, Mr. Chairman.
Nay.
Nay too?
Yes.
There's 2 nays. My nay is based on the fact that I wanted to design, build, operate, and finance this expansion of the project. I don't know what Supervisor Elias's nay is in regards to, but I just want to be on the record as a nay. Thank you.
That was about 2 years ago, right?
I know.
2 years late.
I'm still sore about it.
All right, by your vote of 3 to 2, motion carries. Moving on to item number 22, resolution number 2013-45.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move the item.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve item number 22, resolution number 2013-45. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Hearings, franchises, license permits, item number 23 has been withdrawn. We have items 24 through 28, which include fireworks permits, and on the actual permit display, it does state, in the event of a fire emergency is declared, adherence to any restrictions set forth in that declaration is required. So that is on the application, and they will be required to do so. What is the will of the board on 24 through 30?
Mr. Chairman.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Raven.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the conditions that these extensions and fireworks permits are granted, and I want to move the items 24 fireworks permit, 25 fireworks permit, 26 fireworks permit, 27 fireworks permit, 28 fireworks permit, 29 extension of premises patio permit, and 30 extension of premises and patio permit. And close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion and second to
Mr.
close.
Chairman.
Supervisor Elias.
I would just comment that, you know, we can put as many be careful signs as we can on this, and that's still not enough. We really need people to not fool around with over-the-counter fireworks, especially in such a dry period, especially when you're out there in a place where you could cause a fire, cause loss of life. We know that so much of the habitat for wildlife has been destroyed with fires within the last 10 years. It becomes increasingly more difficult for our animals when we have wildfires as well. So my plea is just for folks to be smart and not play around with over-the-counter fireworks. This is a different item that we're voting on, but I thought I would take a moment to say that because I think it's important for all of us to remember. And despite the fact we tell people, and despite the fact 2 years ago we had a sheriff who came here and said he would put somebody in jail if they got caught fooling around with fireworks, and we were proud of Clarence Stupnick when he came and did that. Despite of all of that, there were 21 instances that summer of people in the Coronado National Forest fooling around with fireworks in a really dry period. How stupid. Please be aware. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Carroll.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Elias, it rings true very clearly to all of us with the loss of life recently in forest fire incidents in Colorado, New Mexico, and other states. We're all very concerned, especially on the heels of the 10th anniversary of the Aspen fire. Please seek my Facebook for some information about that. But thank you very much for reminding all of our residents, not only here but listening at home, and all people in law enforcement to keep their eye out for the people who are carelessly setting off things that are approved by our legislature, such as sparklers and other fireworks over the counter, but also for these people that are professional doing our fireworks displays at these country clubs and other resorts and raceways, that they continue to be extra cautious as far as wind and fire patrols on site when they have their 4th of July displays. Thank you.
All right, again, the motion before us is on the approval of items, closing the public hearing and approving item 24 through 30. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to transportations, items 31 and 32, and resolutions number 2013-46 and 47.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move those items and close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion before us is closing the public hearing and approving 31 and 32, and resolutions number 2013-46 and 47. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those
Mis-
opposed?
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Elias.
Could we at least get a picture of Supervisor Carroll and Supervisor Bronson as they participate in these parades?
I'd be happy to provide you one on my Facebook page, as referred to earlier, Mr. Elias, but it is the 10th anniversary of the Aspen fire, and we would hope you and the other heroes of the Aspen fire that supported
I might join you on
through
that
Pima
one.
County's efforts to rebuild that mountain, please attend, and that's a personal invite to all the board members. I understand Supervisor Bronson may have a conflict.
Yeah, she's got to run around the county that
You
day.
got a helicopter, I hope, that day. But I'm grateful for the idea that any board member and other administratives that would like to come up to where it's cool in the mountains for our 4th of July parade, please attend.
So, I believe he has to accept your friendship request, right?
You've only denied it for years. Please reconsider, Mr. Elias.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Supervisor Carroll, the inside joke is that he's never accepted my friendship request. All right, moving on to regional wastewater reclamation, item number 33, and ordinance number 2013-32.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move the item and close the public hearing.
Motion and a second to close the public hearing and approve item number 33 and ordinance number 2013-32. All those, any discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Carroll.
I read this document all, I don't know, What do you think? It's an inch at least, maybe an inch and a quarter. There is no increases. It's not a rate increase. This is this right here is not a rate increase that we're voting on. Okay, this, what happens to be, is, yeah, every page. Let me recite some of it for you. But I do want to say that this is not a rate increase. This is a application fee increase. You're going from, for heavy users, you're increasing. Can you recite those rates for us, individuals and heavy industrial uses, as I say, and explain to us what the difference is between a rate increase and an application fee increase. Thank you.
Chairman Valadez and Supervisor Carroll, the increases in the increases in the ordinance, the first one is for industrial user, goes from $75 to $150. These are permits that last for 5 years. The last change was in '91, and it's not a rate increase. This is the actual cost. We did an internal evaluation of the administrative time to do the permits, and this is what it comes out to. And similarly, for the significant industrial users, it goes from $600 to $800 for the same reason. It's not a rate increase, it's a cost to prepare the permit.
So it's cost recovery.
Cost recovery, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Jenkins, very much. I appreciate your explanation.
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor, or Council.
Please. Yeah, I think there was a typo you wanted corrected on a page, and we should just get that for the record, because it's a reference.
Mr. Jackson.
Chairman Valadez, in the enforcement response plan portion of the ordinance change, on the page 1 of 56 is the executive summary. The 5th paragraph in the executive summary, the last citing in that paragraph is ARS 11-1606, and that should be 1602.
Maker and the seconder agree with that change? Okay, they do. Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to the addendum agenda. Item Board of Supervisors sitting as other boards, Flood Control District Board. Item number 3, special warranty deed. Motion and second to approve item number 3 on the addendum agenda. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Library District Board, item number 4, contract.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move the item.
Motion and second to approve item number 4 on the addendum agenda. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving to Board of Supervisors sitting in regular session. Item number 5, public participation plan for comprehensive plan update. Mr. Huckleberry.
Mr. Chairman, this is our beginning of the comprehensive plan update process, and Arlen Colton can give you a detailed explanation. We provided a lot of written information with regard to the plan, how the plan is a little different than others that are occurring, and we can answer any questions you have.
And Mr. Huckleberry, this is actually required under state statute, this update.
Yes, it is. This is a mandated process required by the state legislature.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, if there are no questions, I'll move the item.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve item number 5 on the addendum agenda. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please
No.
signify by saying nay.
No.
By your vote of 4-1, motion carries. Moving on to item 6, community development and neighborhood conservation.
Mr. Chairman?
Supervisor Elias?
You know, I'm going to go ahead and move this item, but I would ask for a change from the information that we've received. This item was approved by the Housing Commission on May 20th, and they offered a 6-month period to this developer to be able to get all their financing in line. I'm just suggesting that we should give them till the end of January rather than the end of December, so that they have a full 6 months to be able to get this together, since they have not been able to move forward without our approval.
Is it second? Is that
So I
enough
would
time?
make a motion to approve this, but move the date back to the end of January rather than the end of December.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve item number 6, moving back the date from the 6-month period to the end of January. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to contract and awards, 7, 8, environmental quality 9, institutional health 10, 11, 12.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve items 7 through 12 on the addendum agenda. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Carroll.
Mr. Chairman, I'm so glad that a representative from the department is here. On 11, I went and had I attended a meeting recently with our new Director of Health in Pima County and Dr. Garcia. And I would imagine that this is addressing can you please explain to me if this is in response to the high death rate of teens that are taking medication from the medicine cabinets of maybe parents and grandparents or relatives? This is a lot of money, $150,000, but I saw a huge spike in the deaths related to those types of accidental overdoses, and I imagine this is our response. Please explain it.
Ms. Lesher?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor, excuse me, Carol, this actually is an extension of a contract that we have that's part of the Pima County Department of Justice settlement. We had a $1 million settlement that needed to be, we've got about 5 years to go through. Spending the $150,000 over a 15-month period related to clinical support for opiate-addicted suicides and such. So yes, it does directly relate to that population, but it is part of an overall grant that we have been doing, funding coming in through the DOJ.
Well, thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, I would also add, Supervisor Carroll, I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, sir, please do.
But, you know, the Coalition for Community Prevention is also working on this subject too, together with our local law enforcement to help people be able to get rid of medications that they no longer need, so that this kind of thing is not a temptation to people who are depressed or in a situation where they might consider doing something awful. So it is a problem that is getting worse. You're absolutely right about that.
I'm glad you brought that up to remind people not to flush these dangerous drugs down the toilet either, since they get into our water system. But it is an incredible spike that we saw in the mapping of these accidental deaths by especially teens. I think that's the highest cause of death. It's very alarming, and I'm glad that some monies will be expended to try to prevent those needless deaths, and we expect some great results from Dr. Garcia's efforts, and I encourage each district supervisor to go visit Dr. Garcia at his office at the Abrams Health Center, where he can also provide you with the most recent report and data on your own districts, which I was privileged to have last week. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Elias.
I'll move items 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18.
Motion before us is on the adoption of, or the approval of items 13 through 18. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Mr. Chairman, I voted aye, yet I'd like to make a personal comment regarding number 17, the appointment of Bean On to replace his father, KC On, is a very important, as we mentioned, the Board of Health just in the last item, the last motion. I just want to say it's with great pride that Mr. Beanon now represents restaurateurs in succession of his father's great service of over 15 years on the Board of Health. We know that Keith and other members of the staff, Keith from District 5 attends each and every month's hearings, and the attendance by Mr. On was exceptional, and we hope that Bean follows in his father's footsteps. We're very proud to be able to, I don't know if it's the first time ever, but we're very proud to be able to replace a father with a son as a member of the Board of Health, and thank you very much for allowing me to say so.
Can I just add that you know, Supervisor Carroll is correct. Mr. On's been a great member, and Mr. Stepani, who being his replacing, was also a great member who cared deeply about the health of all our citizens here in Pima County, and his service deserves to be recognized because he really did give it his all, and all the members of the Board of Health do. They're very caring people.
Thank you, Mr. Elias.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. And the ayes have it. Moving on to call to the public, I have two speaker cards. Mr. Robert Black, please come up, identify yourself for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
I guess I don't have to give my address anymore. My name is Robert Black, and I live in Oro Valley. And, you know, each of you has perhaps one of the most rewarding situations in serving the public as elected servants. And I want to remind each of you that that's exactly what you are, and that you are employed by the citizens of this community. I want to talk a little bit about this gas tax. I've tried to figure out exactly what kind of revenue was this going to generate by increasing the gas tax by 10%. Couldn't find anything, so having a little bit of engineering background, I made some assumptions. And with these assumptions, I'm going to share them with you. And then what I'd like for you to do, I'd like to really understand and have the community understand what this if it were to be approved and if we were to receive it, exactly what kind of revenue that would generate for the community. So here's what I did. I looked at the population of Tucson at 989,000. I assumed an average miles per gallon per vehicle of 25. I assumed that the vehicles drove 100 miles per week, which is probably unrealistic. A lot of it's probably, you know. And I assumed that each car took 4 gallons per week, and that the gas tax was 18 cents, and that the gas tax increase was 10 cents a gallon, and that the number of vehicles per population was 1, which may or may not be realistic, probably unrealistic. And when I did that, I came up with 50% of the population, then 60%, then 70%, and then 80% of the population driving cars. And with the current revenue as it is, before that, it amounts to $18.5 million. With the new revenue, it'd be 28.8 at 50%. At 60%, it'd be 22.2 million. At the new revenue, bring it up to 36.6. The 70% would bring it to 25.9. The new revenue bring it to 40.3 million. The 80%, if 80% of the population were driving, it would bring it to 29.6 million under the existing plan and 46 million under the new plan. You know, I'd really like to know and understand, you know, as a citizen, exactly how much increase in revenue do we get from this 10 cent a gallon increase, and if we do get it, you know, where the heck is it going to go? I mean, there's a lot of money there, in my opinion. Now, maybe 40, 50 million isn't much to you guys, but I'd like maybe 1/10 of that of my own money in my own pocket. Anyhow, that's kind of what I leave you with, and I was kind of wondering next time around if we can get a feel for the amount of revenue that would generate if we were to increase it by 10 cents a gallon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Black.
Yep.
Next, I can call Ms. Williams. Please come up, identify yourself for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Williams. I live in Summit at Finger Rock. It's not gated community. This is Ina Road, 3939 East Ina Road. And I have this neighbor who moved 2 years ago, and he got a permit for the pool. And according to the permit, a pool can be 4 feet from the property line. The problem here is with the property lines, the lots are like 8,500 square feet. So you really have a short, maybe 10 feet between the houses. Doing this kind of pool so close on the way, I discovered that actually they're using my property. I did the survey, they did the survey, they tried to hide that from me. I did the survey, found out they're using. So Now we will probably end up in the court all because of that 4 feet. Please, if you cannot help me, that's for sure, but at least you can help a future, the people who would face the same problems. So if you can change that 4 feet, you know, for, I don't know, 10 feet, whatever, and at the same time, when somebody wants a permit, to get the survey so that the inspector can see on which property they're building their pool, that would be great. That's all I have to say. I have proof of all of this, so I don't know how much time I have to tell you and show you. But
If you'd like, you have another minute and 18 seconds.
I beg your pardon?
You have another minute and a quarter.
Oh, okay. I just, I'm so under distress that I just didn't even bring this survey, but the survey is in your computer here. You can see that, how close the property lines are. This is exactly the same like the survey. It's from Pima County, so how close they are.
We got that, yeah.
It's in the material.
Yeah.
Okay. So, on the top of everything, my neighbor now wants to take that piece of property that's ours. You know, ever since we bought it, we're paying taxes, everything. So he wants to take that from us. So that's about it. I just please ask you if you can change that 4 feet. That would be probably helpful. That would probably help somebody else.
Okay.
I guess I do have a question for you.
We have a very limited ability because it's not
sorry.
agendized. What I would
Sorry.
encourage you,
Okay.
you live in Supervisor Miller's district, I would encourage you to talk to her
After the
privately
meeting,
afterwards.
Okay.
We have, I'm sorry, we have a very limited ability to
Yes, I
respond.
have pictures, I have a paper, I have everything to prove what I was saying.
Okay. I would encourage you to talk to your supervisor. All right, anyone else who would like to address the board to call the public? Seeing none, this meeting stands adjourned.